I'm here to disrupt everything the diet and food industry has told you for years. What if you could stop obsessing over food and weight, understand exactly what your body really needs to thrive, all while learning how to feel empowered, confident, and in control? Hey there, I'm Carrie, a certified nutritionist, award-winning educator, behavioral specialist, international speaker, and mom of two amazing college-age daughters. I'm here to help you disrupt everything the diet industry has told you about your health and your body. So here's the truth. Sure, what we put in our bodies matters, and it's more than just nutrition. As a nutritionist and a behavioral expert, I'm uniquely qualified to marry both the science of what our bodies need along with how to change your relationship with food, and all while realizing your value. I want to help teach you to reach your health, wellness, and yes, even weight loss goals with powerful conversations, science-backed strategies, and real talk. I'll teach you how to break free from the cycle of dieting, deprivation, and self-sabotage and start truly living. No more temporary fixes here, just sustainable wellness for you, your family, and your future that no one is talking about. You were not put on this earth to find the right diet, so it's time to stop living like you were. Join me each and every week as I share practical advice, a fresh perspective on the power of mindset, and tips that empower you to live your purpose, all while still enjoying the foods you love. And yeah, that even includes carbs. So if you want something different, you have to do something different. Consider me your something different. Welcome to the Diet Disruptors Podcast. Well, hey there, Carrie here, and welcome to another episode of the Diet Disruptors Podcast. And this one is one that everybody's been asking me to do because it is probably the number one issue that women that I come across, that I work with, that I talk to, ask me about. And because it is October, it is Menopause Awareness Month. And so the topic that most people ask me about and the fact that it's Menopause Awareness Month means I'm going to do this podcast all on menopause. And, so many people, and I get it, I know why, feel like menopause is just miserable. And I will tell you firsthand that menopause can be magical. So, we are going to dig into all things menopause during this podcast. I am going to teach my little butt off. I'm going to really help you understand what's going on with your body. And most importantly, which is what everybody really wants, is like, what can I do? How can I work to be able to support my body in a way that is simple, that is satisfying, that I don't feel miserable about, and that's going to actually yield me results? So, I have to first tell you a little bit about my menopausal story because I am almost 50, but I went through menopause at 46. Now, there are a lot of theories as to why I went through menopause at such a young age, and I'm going to talk to you about that. But what's so interesting about my menopausal journey is while I did have a few symptoms here and there, hot flashes, my husband and I would joke a little bit about some of my hot flashes, but they were really minimal. I had no idea I was going through menopause until my doctor told me. I was like, done. How did I not know? Well, there's a lot that goes to that. And what I know because of the thousands of women that I've worked with that are going through menopause right now. And let me just be really clear. If you are in your 40s, you are, even if you don't have symptoms, you are in the stages of menopause. And if you are through menopause, you are still going through menopause, because menopause is actually like this whole entire stage of life that actually is a continuum, and it starts probably about 10 years before you even really know. And the younger you are, the more emphatic I am for you that you really listen to me. The older that you are, the more emphatic I am that you really listen to me, because our body is so incredible. And if you do things in a proactive way, you are going to be setting yourself up for success. But if you are a little bit reactive right now because you just didn't know, I promise you, help and health and freedom is around the corner, where you can really feel that menopause is magical too. So let's get into my story a little bit. I was 46 years old when I found out I was going through menopause. How did I not know? Well, I had been on an IUD. I had been on Mirena for, oh gosh, about probably 10 years. And so I didn't get a period. So I didn't know that I wasn't getting a period because of menopause. And a little bit of my backstory as well is that I went through years of infertility. So I was pumping my body in my 20s filled with drugs for infertility. I had reverse that or go backwards on that, an eating disorder when I was in college. I put my body through all sorts of what I know now is massive hormonal imbalance. So the dieting roller coaster, binging and starving myself, really always trying to put my body at a deficit, having all sorts of massive issues around fertility, going through the hormonal changes around IVF, as well as pregnancy and post-pregnancy, and then having such heavy problematic periods, PCOS, all sorts of issues after pregnancy. It's what caused me to go on Mirena. I was an infertile woman, basically, that ended up adopting her second child. So why would I go on birth control, or why would I go on Mirena? It was simply to try to control all of my hormones. Now, I know now so much more than I knew then, and I know so many of my eating habits, of my exercising, of the way that I treated my body absolutely had to do with how my body was responding. And I think that's such a big part of what we need to understand. Menopause is not just a ticket to hell, where so many people are like, oh, my body's gone to hell. I'm in menopause. It's that time of my life. I might as well just throw it all out the window. It's not true. What we do with our body, to our body, what we put in our body, what we put on our body, all contributes to how our body responds. I say this all the time. Weight gain, which is often a huge symptom of menopause, weight gain is a symptom of what's going on with our health or our hormones. I'm going to say that one more time. Weight gain is a symptom of what is going on with our health or our hormones. And the reason why that's so important is because what we keep doing, especially as women, as we look at weight gain as this scary, awful, terrible thing, when it's actually really our body talking to us, telling us that something is off. And so what do? We actually exasperate the problem, therefore causing more and more symptoms. When we exasperate the problem because we are going after diets, we believe that diets worked for us at one point, and then as we go through this change in life, we go back to what we know because we believe that they worked for us. Well, diets, it's really all about what your definition of working is, which I did not know when I was younger. The definition of working for almost every single woman out there is that I lost weight. But if we are really looking at the fact that weight is a symptom of our health, massive weight loss, massive weight gain, well, if we are just going after the symptom and not getting to the root cause, then we're never going to actually do what's right for our bodies. And I think that that's such a big piece of this puzzle that we keep missing. The reason why your diets, quote unquote, worked, meaning you lost some weight when you were younger, is because your body was physiologically, your body's exactly the same. It relies on blood sugar stabilization, without a doubt. But you were in the earlier stages where your metabolism is naturally higher. Your blood sugar is your body isn't as tired in trying to regulate it on its own as it is after you've been putting it through all sorts of blood sugar dysregulation for decades. And when you have hormonal imbalance, it is due to the root cause of blood sugar dysregulation. And so I'm going to teach you about all of that right now. I actually even have some visuals, and I know that this is a podcast and that you may not be watching this. So I'm going to make sure that we include these visuals in the show notes as well. So I'm going to teach you so much about your body so you can really understand what you need to be doing to be able to mitigate the impact of menopause or be able to start reversing some of the pieces. My one and only real symptom, I actually had two symptoms. One, I was getting recurring UTIs, which is what I had when I was younger. So I assumed that it had something to do with the same issues I had when I was younger. Turns out that I have a lower amount of estrogen in my body, which is totally typical. And so I am on a low dose estrogen. And since I've been on that, that has completely eliminated all of my UTIs. I would get one every 6 weeks it was one of the reasons why we knew I was in menopause. And that is a symptom that is really problematic. Now, just because I say that that's a symptom, how do we get to the root cause of that? Well, for some, like that type of hormonal therapy is going to be really important. But the reason I knew it was the next move for me is because everything I have really been doing for me nutritionally and physically was where it needed to be, and I wasn't seeing any improvement. So I went to the next step. But if you're not getting your foundation set, then everything that your doctor is going to be doing with you is really going to be throwing mud at the wall, and you won't be truly getting to the root cause of what you need to be doing. The other symptom that I had was intermittent hot flashes. But once I started to see a pattern, I have almost completely eliminated hot flashes. What's the pattern? Well, again, because I am fueling my body in a way that balances my blood sugar on a regular basis, and I am moving my body in a way that a menopausal woman needs. For the most part, I have a pretty good foundation. So now I can really look at what's going on when I have these hot flashes. Okay, there are typically 3 times I'm getting hot flashes. It's when my eating is not as body serving as it should be. I always say food is not good or bad. It is not healthy or unhealthy. It serves our body or it serves our soul. And especially as women, as we get older, we have to be serving our body more than we serve our soul. And what do I mean by that? Well, there's kind of a couple of components on that. Eating as clean, whole, unprocessed food as possible. The amount of chemicals, preservatives, salt, sugar, fat, toxins that are in processed and ultra processed food is wreaking havoc on our gut. Our gut is the epicenter of our entire body, including your hormonal balance. So often we think menopause, hormones, we need to just go after the hormones. But if we're getting to the root of it all, we got to understand that our gut microbiome, when that is off, everything else is off, especially our hormones. And what impacts our gut? Well, there's a couple of things. One, ultra processed foods, that is absolutely 100% impacting your gut. Toxins in our environment, that's impacting our gut. Sleep, that's impacting our gut. Blood sugar balance and insulin resistant, that's impacting our gut. So if we are thinking about serving our body versus serving our soul, if we are serving our soul more than we're serving our body, or we are just eating food that is not useful to us, because food serves either an emotional, fellowship, social need in our lives, or it serves as actual medicine and fuel for our life, this life container, this vessel that we have. If you're eating like processed food that you don't even really like, it's not truly serving your soul, it's not giving you the fellowship or the social or the cultural connection, and it's not serving your body, then you got to ask yourself why you're doing it. Because if it's not useful for you in one of those two ways, you're wreaking havoc. And I know hot flashes aren't fun. So I know that the hot flashes would start to come when I was eating food that was not useful for my body. Now, it wasn't as, and yes, when I, serve my soul, that might happen too. But those kind of meals are always intentional. They're not binge. They're not impulsive. They're intentional. So it's like, I know that if I'm going to have a soul filling meal, like every single Christmas Eve, we have our Hungarian meal, chicken paprikash. There's gluten, there is dairy, there are over amount of carbs. I have it every single year. I know I'm not going to sleep that well that night, right? But on a regular basis, as I was trying to figure out the hot flashes, I knew it was the times I was not serving my body. And when I was adding in extra processed foods than I normally do, hot flashes would come. Two, another time that I knew that there would be hot flashes was when I drank alcohol. Now, if you followed me for any amount of time, you know the only alcohol I drink is wine, and the only type of wine I drink is certified clean crafted wine. That is it. I bring it to a restaurant. If I don't have it, I literally don't drink it because I know that in wine, even organic wine, there are an immense amount of chemicals, pesticides. Glyphosate is in just about all wine that you're going to be in, or you're going to have. And even if it's like European wine, that has a whole bunch of junk in it as well. The only wine that I will drink is certified clean crafted. If you go to carrielapoli.com, you can see the wine that I drink. It's not just one brand. There's a group that actually scouts out and certifies wine to be clean crafted, and it meets super, super high standards. It's the only wine that I drink. But even that, because alcohol metabolizes in our body, alcohol is alcohol. Now that wine obviously is not causing the damage that any other wine or alcohol that is commercially produced will do. But I know that even if I have more than one glass of wine, truly, I'm going to have hot flashes that next night. So and then the third thing that I know that will impact my ability to sleep well and where hot flashes come is when I have dysregulated sleep. So if I don't have a nighttime routine, and I know people have heard this over and over again, but I think people blow it off. Blue light at night. I know for me, if I do late night calls, if I am thinking about work, thinking about my business, then I really struggle to stay asleep. And that's when hot flashes come. It's amazing how levels of stress that release cortisol, and I need everybody to remember when we are on a blood sugar roller coaster, and cortisol will absolutely spike our blood sugar, we over release insulin. Insulin is a hormone. Once one hormone is off, all hormones are off. And I know for the majority of my life, many hormones have been off in my world. So understand that even one night of dysregulated sleep can impact your body to be so insulin resistant that it actually mimics that of a type 2 diabetic. And so those are those three things: what I'm putting in my body to eat, what I'm putting in my body in terms of alcohol, and how much sleep that I'm getting. Okay. So those are those three pieces. And those were the only symptoms that I had: UTIs, which are now gone completely, and certain intermittent hot flashes. I did not gain any weight. Now, I don't have a scale, so I have no idea if what I weigh and what I weighed like before menopause and after menopause. But right? You know if you're gaining weight. You don't need a scale. You know if your clothes are fitting tighter, if your clothes are fitting looser. And that is the measure that, I'm looking at. So weight gain says to me, there's something going on with my health and my hormones, and I need to attack the root cause of that. Now, the other thing, when I went through menopause, my doctor was like, "How are you not experiencing any symptoms?" He said to me, "Remind me what you teach women again, because it's all about insulin resistance." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know. I teach blood sugar stabilization at the core foundation. There's all sorts of layers around that, and there's all sorts of other pieces like moving our body and sleep and hydration and supplementation and our mindset. But at the core, it's blood sugar stabilization." He's like, "I don't know how to teach women that." He has a PhD and an MD. And he said, "I just know that that's what it needs, but I don't know what to tell them to do." And I think that's really interesting. And that's because they're not trained in that, right? They're trained in the science, they're trained in pharmaceutical. My number one client in my private practice are doctors. I train health pros in my professional practice, my health pro practice, and we train doctors to be able to understand how to support their clients with blood sugar stabilization, because it's so pivotal, it's so important. But before I get into more about the science, the last piece I want to talk about is our mindset around menopause, our menopausal mindset. This is what I need us to remember. Our bodies are not broken. Your body has been trying to be your best friend. Your body is your best friend. It is your life partner. Now, I've been married for 24 years, almost 25 years. And I mean, he's my guy, right? He's my partner in life. But my body is my vessel for life. And if my body is responding in a way that I don't like, what responsibility do I have around this relationship? I mean, like we talk about marriage. We talk about a marriage a lot in my private practice. And when a marriage falls apart, it's often because of trust. And I mean, it's always because of trust. And trust comes from positive interactions consistently over time. And anybody that's been through a divorce, that's been through marriage counseling or anything like that knows that it takes two people to be able to build a strong marriage. It cannot be built because one person is doing all the right things. It's got to be both people, and they don't have to be perfect, but they do have to be consistent. Positive interactions consistently over time. So if that's true and it takes two people to build a strong marriage, and one person, regardless of what the other person is doing, one person could totally sabotage the success of that marriage due to a lack of trust, then why is it that you and your body are any different? So if your body is reacting in a way that you don't like, you gotta look in and say, okay, what am I doing to be able to build trust within this relationship between me and my body? And that way we can look at menopause as such an amazing, magical moment in our lives. See, now that I am through menopause and I'm healthy and my health span, it just has a huge runway, right? Because I'm doing things that are actually taking care of myself. I show up every single day in one way, shape, or form. I love this stage of my life. My body has done incredible things, regardless of what I have done to it. I have not treated it in the way that it deserved. I did not respect it always in the way that it deserved. And yet, my body is still here holding me up with my two legs. Now, could your body be adding weight to it? Could you have all sorts of symptoms that don't feel good? Yes, but it doesn't mean your body is broken. It simply means you and your body have to get on the same page and you have to be able to speak its love language. But if this is a relationship, you cannot build a relationship based on frustration and hate and anger and being really just like over it. You're never going to be able to build a relationship with that as a foundation. I want women to show up for themselves because they appreciate what their body has done for them. How many children have you had? And if you haven't had children, how many things does your body do for you on a daily basis that we need to actually be so grateful for? I want us to recognize that our bodies deserve the love and attention that every other relationship in our lives does. And as a relationship continues to evolve and gets older and stronger, so should the relationship between you and your body. Yes, we are aging. Yes, our body is not going to do the same things as it did when we were 20. Yes, menopause can wreak havoc on our hormones, but everything is A, figure outable, in the words of Marie Forleo. But also, when you are older, you are wiser. I know that I don't want to go back to my 20s. I was not in a place where I was balanced. It was not in a place where I was unapologetically me. I cared so much more about what other people thought. I was completely stressed about others, my status, the way that I looked. Now I love that I can put life in perspective. I love that I have raised two girls to be adults that are productive, meaningful members of society. I love that my husband and I now have a whole new season of our life as empty nesters that we're going to be able to explore and reach our purpose in ways that we haven't been able to before. The reason I'm wearing this shirt today is because this is bold, balanced, and beautiful. And that is who you are. You are bold. You are balanced. And my goal is that you are balanced, not just in life, but also with your body. That is what I mean when I say blood sugar balance. And then you are beautiful. You are uniquely and perfectly made. On the side of the shirt, it says unapologetically me. And I say all the time, comparison is the thief of all joy. Self-awareness is what health is. Self-consciousness is a disease. I want all of us to recognize that because there is no one like me, there is no one like you, we don't have to compare ourselves to anybody else. You weren't meant to be like anybody else, but you do have to be the best version of you. And menopause is a part of that journey. And it's a beautiful part of the journey because it allows you to truly be introspective. If you haven't at this point been at one with your body, this is your call to action. Embrace the changes that are going on in your life, because even though it may feel uncomfortable, sometimes we need to get to a place of truly getting on our knees, being as low as we can be before we make the changes that our body has been really truly asking us for our whole lives. And I always say this, we were each put on this earth for a purpose. It was not to find the right diet. It was not to weigh a certain amount. It was to do something, to serve others. And if we are not actually the healthiest version of ourselves, loving ourselves inside and out, understanding our personality, our triggers, what makes us us, being unapologetically ourselves, while we are taking care of this one and only life container, life vessel that we have been given, we will never be able to serve our purpose. So I say embrace menopause, see it as a magical moment to reset. It is now in many women's lives a chance to be able to say, okay, it is my turn. Menopause means I am of the age where most likely my kids are more independent and I have the ability to go and actually put my oxygen mask on like I should have been doing for decades before, but I can and will do it now. You can reverse what you are seeing as symptoms if you show up for yourself in a different way than you've ever done before. I say all the time, if you want something different, you got to do something different. All right. So let's get our menopause mindset right. And then let's talk a little bit about symptoms. I see here, I'll put on the screen, and those of you listening to me, I have this little symptoms checklist for you. And I want you to see this because it's really important to recognize that the symptoms that we have is actually simply our body talking to us, telling us that things are not actually the way that they could be, that we're not thriving, we're kind of surviving. Symptoms like cravings, weight gain, fatigue, energy issues, bloat, hormonal imbalance. All of those are happening during menopause. Am I right? Sinus issues, hair loss, mood swings, UTIs, painful periods. And so you can even look at this, whether you are, I've shown this to my 18-year-old daughter. I've shown this to my 75-year-old mother. I mean, this can be happening with all of us, right? Acne, inflammation, anxiety, depression, digestive issues, bloating, joint pain, brain fog, trouble falling asleep or staying asleep, hot flashes, reflux. Do you have any of these symptoms? Any of these symptoms? Well, before I get into that, I really want to talk a little bit more about this power of blood sugar, because the power of blood sugar is what we really need to recognize as the root cause of all of these symptoms. So let's take a look at this. I want us to be able to see that this slide that I'm showing has a lot going on. So I'm going to just explain it, especially for those of you that are listening to me. So our body is in homeostasis, balance, when our blood sugar is between 80 and 120 milligrams per deciliter. You can measure that with a finger prick. You can see that when you do A1C testing, insulin testing. You can see that on a continuous glucose monitor. Now, one of the biggest misconceptions about this is carbs will spike your blood sugar. We know this. So a lot of people think, I can't have carbs. That's the whole premise of keto. But keep in mind, macronutrients, there's only three. Proteins and fats and carbs, there's only three. Carbs actually give us the energy that we need to be able to do the things. And there's a whole lot of science around what carbs do, but we need the glucose in carbs, whether it's fruit or vegetables, or even denser carbs like rice. And denser carbs are going to spike our blood sugar a little bit more. Sweet potatoes, even bread. Now, refined sugar is different for women in menopause. And I will tell you, I will never tell you what you can or can't have, but I will educate you so you understand that those white breads, those dense carbs that have a lot of refined sugar, they are going to make it much harder for you to be able to keep your blood sugar balanced. But when we do something like keto, we are missing out on a major macronutrient, and the impact on women in menopause is detrimental. We are absolutely, like on paper, it sounds right, because the reason why keto quote unquote works, again, look at our definition of working, is because you're not spiking your blood sugar. But our body uses carbohydrates to kickstart fat burning. And we don't understand that. We have been completely bamboozled and misled by the diet industry. Let's not forget that keto was Atkins back in the 90s. So we need to remember that denying our body carbohydrates is a huge stress on our body. And if you exercise at all, it exasperates it even more. So let's get off the bandwagon that keto balances our blood sugar. We need to be able to balance our blood sugar with carbs. When we do that, our body's in homeostasis. Homeostasis means balance. Remember that from like middle school science, middle school biology or high school biology? Homeostasis means balance. Hormonal balance is what we're looking for. Our gut microbiome, when our gut is healthy, we are in homeostasis. Our body cannot be balanced when our blood sugar is all over the place, because when our blood sugar spikes, our body goes through something called glycation. When our blood sugar dips and goes onto that crash, because we have skipped meals, we've restricted calories, we've fasted, especially fasting around exercise. And if you are a woman, I am going to say to you right now, any research on fasting, and I do not care who you are listening to. First of all, it's miserable. Second of all, it's caloric deprivation. Third, if you are fasting, we can find evidence of fasting benefits for men, very few for women. And as a standard practice, recognize that women's hormonal imbalances and all of the history that we have as women make for studies around nutrition challenging. And it does so for men as well. But we have a lot of things that go on in terms of our hormones. But fasting for religious reasons, if that's what you're going to do, I'm going to be behind you and help you to be able to recognize how to do that in a way that's not going to throw your blood sugar completely off. But fasting for health purposes, especially if you are active at all, I would absolutely discourage it. There is zero evidence that long-term that is helping. And in fact, there is more evidence that is saying it is not helping. If you want to look up some of the research, you can look up in Dr. Stacy Sims' books, Next Level. She has a ton of research showing both keto and intermittent fasting and why it actually worsens our insulin sensitivity. It impacts our hormonal balance in such a negative way, and it increases our oxidative stress, which then impacts all aspects of our metabolic health. Please don't. Just don't. So when our blood sugar dips too much or when it goes up too much, we go on this blood sugar roller coaster. When blood sugar is stable and we're absorbing nutrients, remember I talked about processed foods? Processed foods are not useful. So there's no nutrient absorption. It's not actually fueling our body to give us nutrients and vitamins that we need, the micronutrients, the macronutrients, and the vitamins. So if it's not useful for your body, you're just putting in empty calories. No, we don't track calories, don't need to track calories. But if you're just putting in empty calories into your body, you're going to store fat. You're going to glycate, which means you've actually had a blood sugar spike and your body can't store the excess glucose that it normally would store. So when your blood sugar, when you have carbs, you release glucose, your body will store it in its liver and its muscles, and that's the only two places it can store it in. And so what happens with the excess glucose because of processed foods, because of refined sugars, because of overcarbing? Well, then it doesn't have any place to store it. So what does your body do? It's amazing. And it stores this in your fat cells. In addition, it releases free radicals when you glycate and you spike your blood sugar beyond the glucose levels that it can actually handle. It releases free radicals. Free radicals causes oxidative stress. This is how your gut is completely impacted, your microbiome. In fact, due to the impact of processed foods, we have 40% less of all of the amazing things in our gut that we need than we did even just 20 years ago. So we need to recognize that our gut microbiome is all out of whack. And all of this is, you can get to that root cause of prolonged dysregulated blood sugar or glycation, spiking it too much, going on these big dips, and throwing your body completely off when it comes to homeostasis. This is key. Now, I love this next visual because this is what we need to understand as the real pyramid scheme. Again, if you're not able to look at this, don't worry. You can look at these in the show notes. But I want you to think about a pyramid scheme, okay? And recognize that this is the real tragedy and travesty of what's going on in our bodies right now. And if we can get to understanding this, your menopausal symptoms are going to absolutely be it's going to be magical. right? So let's think about this. We get this dysregulated blood sugar, which causes cellular dysfunction. Do you remember, like in middle school, we said, like, everything is made up of cells. Our human body is made up of our cells. That is it. So if our cells are dysfunctioning, everything else is going to dysfunction. And how do our cells dysfunction? The root cause of all of that is a dysregulated blood sugar, overglycating, being on that roller coaster. What is that caused by? Dieting, stress, processed foods, restless sleep, all the different ways that we're dysregulating our blood sugar because we've been on a dieting roller coaster. We've binged, we've fasted, we've restricted calories. We have toxins in our environment. We have toxins in all sorts of things in our cleaning products and all of that, and a sedentary lifestyle. Now, I don't care if you work out an hour a day, if you sit at your desk all the rest of the day, that is a sedentary lifestyle. And what happens then? Well, all these symptoms start. All those symptoms that I mentioned before, that's the next rung, the next step on this pyramid scheme. When you get to the top of the pyramid, understand we are in massive metabolic disease. And we are already, by seeing these symptoms, proving to ourselves that our blood sugar, our health, so many different aspects of our body, their needs are not being met. And this is our body's check engine light coming on. And this is why you're seeing now, as we get older, of course, our hormones are going to be in a place where a fluctuation. But that's what I mean by when you are fueling your body correctly, when you are not giving in to all these dieting trends, when you are managing your stress, when you are understanding the power of sleep, when you're layering on these little bits of learning. And we do this like in 1% of time. We can't do it all at once. But when we start to make small incremental changes going in the right direction, we are going to make 1% progress in the direction we want. Because what's happening right now with everybody that's just doing either what they think, what the Facebook or the Instagram tells them to do, we are getting 1% worse every single day. And as we get 1% worse, our menopausal symptoms get worse, but so does metabolic disease. We will never stay the same. We will go in one direction or another. And we are literally fighting the waves where, like, when you see a wave in it and it washes a sandcastle away, it's always going to do that. Aging is always going to eventually wash our bodies away, but we can actually make the most of the time that we have so we can do the most with this one life that we've been given. And so if you look at all of these symptoms that I mentioned before, that's the next rung on this pyramid scheme. What comes after that? Well, you might already be there. It's metabolic dysfunction. And more than likely you are, because 93% of people in America have metabolic dysfunction. That's the symptoms to the next level: high blood pressure, high cholesterol, any sort of insulin resistance, PCOS, thyroid issues, chronic pain, fatty liver disease. I mean, we are seeing such a prevalence of fatty liver disease, it's out of control. Arthritis, joint pain, infertility, obesity, IBS, all of that is metabolic dysfunction. And so we're higher up on that pyramid. And then eventually, again, it is a math equation. If you want something different, you have to do something different. And the problem is so many things that we think we're supposed to be doing because they either quote unquote worked when we were younger or we just hear about it is actually bringing us up this pyramid even more. Remember, what's your definition of working? If it's just losing weight, I know plenty of skinny, unhealthy people. In fact, one of our clients that came to us was 54 years old. If you looked at her, you would have thought she was healthy. She was an absolute average weight. She didn't show any signs of obesity, none of that. But all of her blood work came back massively problematic. Weight gain is a symptom, but so many other symptoms are there. She was pre-diabetic at 54 years old, looking amazing. So understand, if we keep going after weight loss, we aren't getting to the root cause. But once you get to disease, pre-diabetes. Now, I say pre-diabetes is a disease because it is exactly the same as diabetes. It's just not there yet. And when you are pre-diabetic, your doctor doesn't tell you to do anything and won't give you medication until you're actually diabetic. But it is a math equation. You will get there. You can reverse it, but not if you keep doing what you're doing. Now, why do I say that with menopause? Because it's all interconnected. And if you're having hormonal imbalance, it's all coming from the same root cause. And you're going in a one direction if you're not getting to the root cause of all of these things. Heart disease, dementia, Alzheimer's, cancer, stroke can all be attributed to a dysregulated blood sugar. And so if we're getting to the root cause, we will absolutely be able to make things better, without a doubt. And I think that is what so many of us just don't realize, and yet we have to. Now, last piece of this, if you think that you're like, well, my A1C is fine. I've been getting tested and I haven't seen an issue with that. So maybe that's not the case for me. I need you to understand that 10 to 20 years in the making is when your A1C levels become problematic. It is not because of the last few months. It is everything that we've been doing to our bodies for the last 10 to 20 years. Our blood sugar, I want you to think about it this way. I want you to think about a single mom raising 10 kids on her own, okay? And the husband's not around and she is tired. There's just always something, and it just feels like it's impossible to get ahead. And when a kid spills water on the floor, it's like, oh my gosh, I can't handle it anymore, right? I want you to think about your body as if it's been trying to raise 10 kids on its own because you have not understood how to balance it through blood sugar stabilization and eating in a way that serves your body on a regular basis. And not your fault, you just didn't know. So over the years, and as you have more and more kids, right? That single mom has more and more kids, and they get older and they get more needy, it becomes harder and harder and harder. Think about your body like that. It's tired of having to do it all on its own. And as you get older in menopause years, your symptoms become worse and worse and worse the longer and the more exasperated it's had to be over the past 10 years before. Now, let's say that same single mom, husband comes home. He wasn't like a deadbeat dad. He was a soldier at war, and he was just away for a really long time, and he's back. And he's like, I got you. And now they're working together as a team. Suddenly, when one of the kids spills milk all over your brand new, I don't know, outfit that you just bought, you're actually not as exasperated, as frustrated, as angry because you're rested, because you have help, because you have support, because you have a partner. So if you think about your body as that single mom with 10 kids, but now you start to give it what it needs, you become that soldier that's home. You start serving it in the way that it needs. You start to become a partner with your body when you do have those times when your blood sugar is dysregulated, because our body naturally knows how to adjust when we have more stress or when we're not eating absolutely perfectly. It's fine. Our body can handle it because it's rested, because you've been a partner with it, because you've been stepping in and helping with the dishes, helping with the cleaning, helping with the raising of the kids. And now your body is able to be balanced. And so when stress comes or when life throws you curveballs, your body is not shutting down. And if you just keep thinking, I'm so frustrated with my body, menopause is making it worse, and I hate my body so much that I got to either do something or give up, that's never going to be the partnership that you need to be able to bring your body to where you really want it to go so it can do the things that it needs to do so you can be living your purpose. When you show up after being away at war for as long as you've been, and you and your body are now working as a team, as a partnership, it's amazing how much more you can do, how many symptoms start to go away, how many more results you start to see. Now, how long does that take? James Clear from Atomic Habits often talks about an ice cube metaphor, which I love. I want you to think about an ice cube in a room that's like 20 degrees, right? And you turn up the temperature 1 degree. It's now 21 degrees. You're going in the right direction, but you're not seeing any progress. You're not seeing any results. But little by little, you keep turning up the degree one at a time, and you get to 30 degrees, 31 degrees. That ice cube is still frozen, and it could be frustrating. But at the end of the day, if you keep going, that ice cube goes to 32, 33, and 33 degrees. You might start to see that ice cube melt just a little bit. And I want you to think about that ice cube as your symptoms, not just weight, but all of those symptoms. And some of those symptoms are going to start to be able to actually correct themselves right at the beginning of your 1 degree knob turning. And some are going to take a little bit longer. But I don't know how cold your room is. I don't know how long you've been trying to raise 10 kids on your own. I don't know how long you've been on this blood sugar roller coaster, how long you've had sleep dysregulation, how many toxins have been in your body, all of that. But I do know that the formula for food freedom, the formula for you to be able to become your body's best friend, the formula for making menopause magical is to start to turn that temperature up in 1 degree increments every single day by balancing your blood sugar through what we call PFC3, protein, fat, and carb, every 3 hours. I know that feels counterproductive, but I remember I said you need carbs. But when you have carbs, you spike your blood sugar. When you eat a protein and a fat with it at the same time, you mitigate that blood sugar spike, which means your body doesn't have to over-release insulin, which means you can be in hormonal balance. I have proved this over and over again by putting countless numbers of clients in my private practice through a continuous glucose monitor to prove PFC3 works. I train health pros in my professional practice to be able to be certified to be able to teach this to their clients because it works. But on top of it, we have our 6 spinning plates. Nutrition is the foundation. Are we serving our body more than we're serving our soul? Or are we eating just food that's not useful and that's not doing either? Movement. Women in menopause have to be strength training. And 15 minutes of high intensity training twice a week. If you can be strength training 4 times a week and high intensity training 15 minutes twice a week, you are going to be on your way of turning up that knob faster than you ever could before. What do I mean by high intensity training? 1 minute on, really high oxygen output, like really going at it, rest 1 minute, start again after that minute, even though you're not ready, and do that for like 8 to 10 minutes, up to 15 minutes twice a week. That is going to be huge for you. Hydration, sleep, supplementation, managing your stress, all of these pieces of the puzzle feel like a lot. But if you can do a little bit each day, that 1 degree that you go up will get you in the direction of what you want to do. We keep looking for the magic pill, the magic diet, the magic shot, the magic thing that's going to help with weight loss. But at the end of the day, your menopausal symptoms are a bigger situation and representative of a root cause of blood sugar dysregulation, as well as a mindset that doesn't believe your body is here for you for the right reasons. And if we can shift that and we can start to move in the direction that we need, we are going to get there, I promise. I don't know how cold your room is. Divorce yourself from the results and know that if I show up, keep my head down, and just keep turning up the knob a little bit each day, I will melt my ice cube. So as I go through this, if you want more information, if you want to dig in a little bit more, go to my website, carrielupoli.com. Follow me on Instagram, Carrie_Lupoli.com. See all the ways in which I'm working to be able to educate this world, not just women, but women to me are the cog of their families, but women, health pros, doctors, personal trainers, physical therapists, because together this is a movement to be able to get people off of the diet roller coaster, understanding more about their food, loving their body so they can live their purpose. I am unapologetically disruptive against the diet industry, against the food industry, and I want you to be able to do that as well and to be a part of that. But you have to be figuring this out for yourself before you're going to be able to help others do that as well. So go to carrielupoli.com, grab more information, follow me on social, and let's win at every aspect of our life. Menopause can be magical, I promise. And if you want a shirt, go to carrielupoli.com too. You can grab one of these for yourself and remember that you are bold, you are balanced, you are beautiful, and wherever you are on your journey, there is a place for you to start so that you don't keep going 1% backwards. 1% progress every day adds up to huge, huge wins, huge victories with this one life container, life vessel, and life purpose that you have. Let's go.